Tonight had all the makings of a trap game for the Phoenix Suns. Although they're playing at home, rocking those Valley jerseys, they're playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that's 13th in the Western Conference, knowing that in just 2 days' time, for Christmas, they were going to unwrap the present that is the Golden State Warriors. And at a couple times during this game, yes, it did feel like this was a trap game. But led by Devin Booker and his 30-point performance, the Phoenix Suns win their 15th consecutive game at home. And Devin Booker personally is now 20-0 in his last 20 games played, Matthew. What a game for the Suns.
Is he? He's 20-0. Wow. You know, the game he had tonight, Eddie even said, you know, it was a very silent 37 for him, and it really was. That's just the way it is. This team doesn't go over 40 usually, but when they get close to it, you just never really know until you look at the box score. But I don't think this is really a trap game, just because I think OKC is actually good, and they need to just keep on this thing where they're trying to win games and try to get some superstars there. That would be super nice for them to do that, because they have a lot of fight in them, man. And I knew it would be a tough game, and it really was till the very end.
You know, it's just one of those teams that has a lot of talent that just doesn't know necessarily how to play in the league yet. It's a lot of young talent. You know, when
Yeah.
you're going against the likes of Lou Dort, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Baisley, Muscala, they have a lot of these young guys who really can fill up a box score, and they just don't know how to win games yet. And, for those of you who are watching along live or listening to this podcast, I don't know how long you've been a Suns fan. A lot of you have been around for a long time, and you know what the Suns looked like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, even when Ricky Rubio came to the team. But we looked a lot like the Oklahoma City Thunder did in the past. We had a couple guys who could fill it up, and there was just some inconsistencies, most notably on the defensive end. So if you are a newer fan of the Suns and you're enjoying this beautiful ride, please do enjoy it. I mean, there's a million reasons why you should enjoy it. But if you've been a Suns fans for more than the past 4 years, you see a lot of who the Suns used to be in a team like this. Obviously, the construction of the team's a lot different. We're going to talk about their draft picks a little bit later tonight. But I just think that, to your point, Matthew, this is a team with a lot of fight in it. And eventually, if they harness that talent into something long-term, and not just try to take their players and or their picks and utilize them as assets, this eventually will be a team that will be dangerous.
I totally agree. And they're a team right now that just plays basketball the right way. And the Suns didn't do that ever in the beginning until they got Chris Paul. They needed Chris Paul to figure out how the hell to play basketball. But I think OKC's on the right track of knowing how to play. Just needing another player, another extra couple players, dude. Maybe just one, honestly. I love the team.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it's Domantas Sabonis. It's been rumored that he might end up in OKC.
That's a name.
That's a good name that potentially could make sense there. So plenty to talk about again on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. If you're listening, we thank you. Hit subscribe, rate, review. If you're on Apple Podcasts, 5-star review. If you're on Spotify, just 5 stars. If you're watching the podcast, hit that thumbs up button down below. Helps with algorithms and science and computer coding. I don't know how it works, but somehow, some way, it lets other Suns fans know that when they log onto the tube that is for you, it'll guide you to us, which is the Suns Jam Session podcast. You can follow me at Darth Voida on Twitter. You can follow Matthew on Twitter.
At Matthew Lissy.
And, of course, you can follow the show on Twitter at Suns Jam. So, Matthew, it's time to pop open a teeth-cracking cold beer. I know you got me on this one because I've got a KFC Dr. Pepper. I got some I got some chicken fingers, and they didn't even give me sauce tonight. Like, I get to my room, I'm starving. I'm traveling today. I'm in Reno, Nevada now. I was in Palm Desert this morning. I'm in Reno tonight with a layover in Phoenix, which is just cruel. And I'm like, I get to my hotel room, I turn on the game, I sit down, I unwrap my 5-piece tenders. No fucking sauce, man.
Oh, dude, spending your holidays, man. Could they get any lower? I'm just kidding. We're all here for you, John. All the champions are here. We're all celebrating together. But I do have, Lagunitas IPA in a can.
There we go.
Not always the best, but I had to grab it at halftime because I knew you would probably just have a KFC Diet Dr. Pepper or Dr. Pepper. So I came prepared, John.
Well, pop that bad boy open. Suns fans, pop them if you got them. And let's talk about another win for your 26-5 Phoenix Suns. That's right, Jamsters. This is episode 265 for the Suns Jam Session podcast, and the Suns are 26-5. I don't know how the world works, but
Meant
it
to
worked
be.
out. Just kind of everything crossed perfectly right there. But again, a great victory for the Phoenix Suns as they defeat the Oklahoma City Thunder by a final score of 113-101. But you know what? I'm not going to talk about the Suns right off the bat.
Matthew, I got to ask.
So, Matthew, I got to ask, when it comes to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? 29
Yeah.
points tonight, 10 for 20 from the field, 2 for 6 from deep, and 7 of 7 from the free throw line. Throw in 7 assists and 5 rebounds. A solid performance for the one guy on the Oklahoma City Thunder who is clearly a building block for them. So, Matthew, I got to ask you this. Where does Shai Gilgeous-Alexander rank among your favorite young players in the league who aren't members of the Phoenix Suns? And I'm talking like DA's draft class since then, since the 2018 draft. Any player who's had 4 years or less experience in the NBA, where does SGA rank on your list?
He'll probably go number 3. My
Okay.
first one, I think Ja, of course, obviously, if you listen to this podcast, I'm a huge fan of his, and he's someone that I talked to be MVP this year, so he obviously has to be my number 1. But SGA, I think he slides in at number 3. Trae Young is an honorable mentionable, but he's
Okay.
honorable mentionable, but he
Honorable, mentionable.
but I think there's too much of him right now, and there's just too much to where this year he hasn't performed in that team to the way they did last year. But another guy that I do love, of course, is LaMelo Ball. But LaMelo Ball would be my number 1, tied with Ja Morant. I think they're right there together. They're like anytime the Suns play Memphis or the Hornets, I get more excited to watch them, and especially when I watch OKC, I get excited about their young talent and watching Shea more than I want to watch the Suns play the Lakers. I don't know what it is. I like the up and coming talent, like we're talking about, but those are my top 3, man. I mean, they're all point guards. They're all
Yeah.
they just know how to ball. They know how to facilitate the ball. They know what the hell they're doing on the court already at such a young age. And I like how like they're in cities to where they're taking it upon themselves to try to create something there where it's probably pretty difficult to get superstars to join them.
Yeah, it's funny because I obviously put a list together because I knew I was going to ask you this question, and we have very similar lists. Quick shout out in the chat to Blaze Megatron. He says, I like Giddy. Blaze, I don't know if you heard us on the last pod, but we were literally like, where's Blaze Megatron been?
Yes.
He
Thank
hasn't been
you.
here for the post game
You're
show. So
here.
welcome back, Blaze. But he likes Giddy, and I like Giddy as well as a member of that team. And I think that that's another potential building block for the Oklahoma City Thunder. But
Yeah.
I was thinking about the same question. SGA is a fantastic talent. He's somebody who I know that both you and I were a big fan of in that 2018 draft. And knowing that the Suns had that second pick that they ultimately took Jarrett Culver with and then traded with the Philadelphia 76. No, that's not how it went. Is that how it went? We got Mikal
Something like that.
Bridges. We got Mikal
Yeah.
Bridges with that pick. But it was getting closer and closer. We were going to have a shot at SGA because we're like, hey, we got DeAndre Ayton, we got our big. Now we can get SGA who can be our facilitating point guard for the future. And that's how, I
Yeah.
mean, we thought we were going to hit the jackpot with that draft. And you know what? We ended up hitting the jackpot regardless because we got Mikal Bridges out of the draft, who is going to be a member of the all defensive team, first team. Like I'm already calling it this year. Like you're hearing enough of that national media
Yeah.
narrative behind his story that it's going to happen. But I was thinking about SGA. I'm like, where does he of guys who are 4 years or less in the league?
Mhm.
Where does he fall? My number one guy is Ja Morant, just like you. He's my
Okay.
favorite young player. He's going to be the future of this league. I think that again, another guy who both you and I wanted in the draft, right? You know,
Yes. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
number 2 on my list, LaMelo Ball. So
Oh,
we agree
there you
there.
go.
Number 3 on my list is Evan Mobley. I really think Evan Mobley is going to be special from what I've seen. And again, I'm not sitting around every night watching Cleveland Cavalier games, but from what I do see, this guy's going to be really special. Number 4, and just ahead of SGA. SGA is number 5, and Patrick Williams for Chicago is number 6 for me. Do you want to take any gamble on who my number 5 guy is?
Is it Anthony Edwards?
No. Good guess though. Good guess.
Oh, okay.
Same
No, I have no
same
idea.
same draft class. Obi Toppin. I still I still
Really?
I still love Obi, man. I think that
Okay.
well, because again, he's starting to show a little bit more in New York, and the only reason he's shown more in New York this year is because Julius Randle isn't as well. Or isn't playing as well
Yeah.
as he was last year, right? So now that opportunity is opening for him. In his first year, you're playing behind Julius Randle, who's an All NBA guy. So it's like
Yeah.
it's like trade him, do what you got to do to get that guy out of town. But now that Julius Randle's come all the way back down to earth, Obi Toppin's looking good. That's just a guy who I like to watch. And again, these aren't guys who I'm saying I want these guys on the Suns. This is just who I like to watch outside of the Phoenix Suns. So that was
Yeah.
that's that segment, if you will.
Well, I like the Obi because the Obi talk because it's nice that he is improving, and he was written off as a rookie. I know we always talked about he's playing behind Julius Randle, but still, it's like you write off a rookie who really has a lot. He's very green, obviously, with the way he plays basketball. He's really high and a high flyer, but he's a guy that can really improve and be someone that's not like a cornerstone, but he can help a team, be a role player. Like he got written off way too early, and we do that a lot with rookies and even players in their second year. It's like just calm down, wait till these guys have the opportunity to fill a role to where they're successful, and then they just have the opportunity. Basically, that's all they need. A lot of these players just need the opportunity, and he's one of them.
Well, and shit, I mean, we write guys off after their third year too, and a lot of these
Mhm.
guys are only 20, 21 years old at that time, 22 at their latest. So it's not like this is the 90s when guys were playing for 3 or 4 years in college, and then their third year in the NBA, you will know if they're a bust or not because then you have a 7-year sample size of what these guys can produce in a high leverage and high competition situations. No, these guys are young guys, so it's even the DA effect. DA is such a young guy that we fail, probably because he looks so damn old, but we fail to remember that he is still not even close to the apex of his career. So
Yeah.
it's a reminder not to rattle off a lot of these guys. And I know there's a lot of guys in those draft classes, which I didn't necessarily mention. But again, these are guys who I like to watch, SGA being
Yeah.
one of them. And he showed you tonight, again, the why. Why do I like um, SGA as much as I do? It's his complete game. He has a complete game. He can drive to the interior and create contact. He can shoot from the outside. He can shoot the mid range. He can facilitate an offense. He is kind of that modern point guard. One of the things that we might not necessarily remember, or we, you know, maybe we do remember because not too long ago we didn't have any fucking point guards, but like Chris Paul's a dying breed. Ricky Rubio, who was here before Chris Paul, dying breed. You don't have a lot of these true facilitating point guards
Yeah.
in the league anymore. You have more of the SGA types, the Trey Young types, the guys who are more ball dominant and going to take more shots in the process of setting up guys around them, right?
Yeah, but also I think we're kind of going away from like the smaller point guards that are that way. Shea's a little bit bigger, of
True.
course, but you have like the Giddy, even Giddy tonight. He's like a bigger guy that's just a facilitator. He can't really shoot. You have the Ben Simmons, Luka Doncic, of course. There's these huge, massive dudes that could be playing the four, and then they're really a point guard. So it's kind of going that way. So yeah, Chris Paul is like one of the dying breeds of like the smaller guys. I mean, Trey Young, of course, his assists are always at least 9 or 8 per game, but he's always just thought of as like a shooter. So I mean, I understand what you're saying there.
Yeah. I mean that's you're spot on with that. It is more of a large position, and you're going to see less and less of the small guys
Mhm.
come in and have the same effect because what's the advantage of having a Shea Gilgis Alexander on your team? The length and the switchability, right? I mean,
Yes.
Chris Paul, again, dying breed, the way that he plays defense is a lot different than the way that other 6'3" point guards in the league can play. And that's
Yeah.
why we will start to see kind of this transition to these larger point guards. And we're not too. That's why Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, he's a long, lengthy guy. He's more of that mold. And in the future, that's something we're gonna have to look at. But we're not focused on the future. We're focused on right now. This Phoenix Suns team, the 2021/22 Phoenix Suns, and once again, they play a fantastic brand of basketball again tonight. Uh, you know, this is OKC. You look at that final score, you see the Suns win by 12, and you're like, you know what? That's exactly what I thought was going to happen. But Matthew, I was traveling tonight, so I was catching parts of the game
Mm.
where I
Yeah.
could. I was actually in the airport in Reno waiting for my bag, which took way too long, by the way. And so I was just kind of like watching the score in that second quarter, and I saw after the first quarter. The Phoenix
Mhm.
Suns are up 29-17. And next thing you know, they're going into the half and they're losing, I think, by 3. So again, not over analyzing what occurred tonight because the end result is exactly what you thought it was going to be. But tell me what you saw in that second quarter that allowed the Oklahoma City Thunder to outscore the Phoenix Suns 31-16.
Well, it's OKC. I really think they've after the first quarter, you kind of saw like, okay, the Suns came out there the more dominant team. You saw it in DA's eyes, you saw it in Cameron Johnson's eyes. In the second quarter, Booker was more of a facilitator in a way where he came out and hit 1 3. He looked like he was trying to get the defense pulled away and then be more of a facilitator later in the first. Second quarter, after the Suns had a nice lead, it's like, okay, maybe this is gonna be a blowout. OKC is just pesky. They're a team that plays really good team defense. They play as one. They're
Hmm.
down low. They're getting the offensive rebounds. I think it was 6-0 at halftime offensive rebounds. OKC over Phoenix. So they're down there tipping balls. They're grabbing the offensive rebounds, they're getting second chances. A lot of that. I mean, they were throwing up a lot of wide open threes, not getting all of them to go down, of course. But they kept focusing really on moving the ball around. And what they were doing is they would get into the lane and keep the dribble alive, whether it was Shea or whoever had the ball. The dribble would stay alive, and then they would find the pass, like in the nick of time, like before one of the Suns defenders can close in on the other guy. So they were getting off these passes that were very quick, and I didn't see them coming. And they're finding guys that are cutting, that are wide open from three, that are wide open in their spots. They just did a lot of that. They buckled down on defense, and
Hmm.
then the offense just started moving the ball, man. Especially when you have Shea like that. He's such a guy that he slithers around in the paint until he can find somebody or get a shot off and get a good angle to get a good shot off. So that's very difficult to guard. And I don't think it was a lot of like the Suns, like, hey, super tired, like not too tired, but overlooking OKC. We got the big lead. I think OKC, because I don't think the Suns do that anymore to where they're just going to like let themselves down in a quarter and kind of let a team come back that they think is a lesser opponent because they know that OKC, they won 3 in a row. They beat Denver. They're going to come in and they're going to continue to fight. So Suns know that. I think it was really just a lot of OKC's fight over the Suns just not being able to stop them in the second quarter. So congrats to the OKC. Like they looked really good in the
They
second
owned
quarter,
a
man.
quarter. Yeah. I mean,
They really did.
and
Yeah. And they
again, you
kept
have
it
to
close
do it
most of the game.
for 4 complete quarters, obviously, to win a game. And, they put it all together in that second quarter. And you're right. Looking at the statistics in that second quarter, although the team, or Oklahoma City, shot 46.2% from the field, the Suns shot 31.8. So they weren't necessarily making their shots. Total turnovers in that quarter for the Phoenix Suns, they had 2. Oklahoma City actually had 3. But to your point, 5 offensive rebounds, 12 total rebounds for the Thunder, whereas the Suns only had 7 total rebounds. And here's what's interesting. And obviously, when you're traveling, and I'm sure many of you know this, when you don't have full access to the game, when it's not you kicking it on your couch with an ice cold beer, just watching the game,
Yeah. Yeah.
absorbing it when you're on the move. We all have, maybe your significant others like, hey, let's go Christmas shopping 2 days before we have to go for Christmas, and we got to go to Target tonight, and you're literally walking through the aisles of Target while she's just looking for shit. She doesn't know what she wants, so she's just looking at different shit and thinking. So you just have your phone out and you're trying to follow it the same way I kind of was, right? You're looking at the box score, and then you hop on Twitter. For those of you who are Twitter users,
Yeah.
that's where I'm kind of, because that's where you're going to get the opinion behind the box score. And much akin to what Los Suns just said, where I just had it. He said Peyton happened, and I
Oh, yeah,
saw
that
a,
was something.
I
Yeah.
saw a lot of
Oh,
Elfrid
jeez.
Payton hate. So I'm
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna ask you what happened, but first I'm gonna
Yes.
set it up, okay? Elfrid Payton in the second quarter. Because again, it was the same thing that you see on Twitter. Fucking Payton's done, get rid of him, yada yada. I assume he had a bad turnover, which you'll tell me about momentarily. But he played 4 minutes and 33 seconds in that second quarter. He shot 1 for 2 from the field, ended with 2 total points, had 2 turnovers, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. So statistically, it didn't look like he had a horrible quarter. He ended with those 2 points and only got about a minute and a third more playing time. So what happened in that second quarter that ignited the pitchforks and the torches for the people and of who are members of the Phoenix Suns fan base who want to oust Elfrid Payton from the Suns castle. They're going to go down to the dungeon where he lives with those pitchforks and those torches and try to burn him out of it.
Yeah.
What did he do that was so egregious tonight that I missed?
Oh, well, first of all, Peyton, I feel bad for the dude. You can tell as soon as he comes in the game, he's already inside of his own head. He
Okay.
has opportunities on the offensive end, whether he wants to facilitate the ball, find the wide open guy. I think that a lot of times where he's somewhere on the court and he has an opportunity to really pass it to somebody that's seriously wide open right in front of him, he makes the other decision and passes it to somebody else that's just, and it's usually just the other team. That's what he did tonight. There was 2 plays in a row basically where just turn the ball over. The Suns were just they had like the 10-12 point lead, and
Hmm.
then Peyton. Here we go. Oh yeah, after Peyton. See, I always get Peyton. Peyton comes in and he turns it over twice, and then it's just like, okay, so OKC's back in the game, kind of in a way, because Peyton just lost any kind of confidence he had at all coming into the game, and that's just one thing. It's just like the opportunities are really there for him. I just think he's in his own head. He's not feeding the guys that are open right in front of him. He did have a nice little shot. He had a McGee set a nice screen. He had some spacing, hit a shot there. But other than that, he just has a hard time really finding the guys that are available. And it's just, I think it's just something that he needs to work on. And when he comes in the game, I'm kind of like, oh, dude, I think all the players feel it too. It's just like, well, let's see how this goes. It might not be the best. And you can tell when he does turn the ball over, when they're walking back down the court, there's some support, of course, but it's just like, dude, like you need to settle down. You're making the passes that don't need to happen. They happen for some reason from him. Like it's just like chill out, dude. Like he's just forcing too much, and it's a minimal amount of time too that he's in the games, and it's just not looking good for him, man.
Okay, so I mean, I get what you're saying, and before I read a lot of what the Jamsters are saying in the chat, this is kind of my observation. Peyton might have had a bad 4 minutes and 33 seconds in that second quarter. The Suns win by 12. He has to absorb some minutes during the regular season. They're not everybody's going to play great at all times. And guess what?
Yeah.
When the playoffs come around, he's not going to get these fucking minutes. Like, because there's also that kind of side argument that's going on right now. It's like, well, why is he getting any minutes at all? Because those are minutes that aren't going to be played by Campaign, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul. That's the why. And we're still winning by 12. Now, that being said, I'm going to run through some of the observations provided by our Jamsters. So again, thank you for joining us, Jamsters. Make sure you hit that like button down below. You can become an elite Jamster by joining the link in the description or clicking the join button, and you can donate like Satya Lewis just did in the super chat, $4.99. And Satya says Peyton was terrible. He provides absolutely no benefit. And that's where I will disagree. He does provide the benefit of at least he's eating up some minutes, right? Those are 4 minutes that Chris Paul
That's
didn't have to play.
basically it.
That's
Yeah.
basically it, though. So you're right.
Yes.
For the most part, it's no benefit. Felix says, "Who could we get for him? I don't know, but if we can't get another guy that at least knows how to run the point, I don't see the point of trading him." And again, Matthew, he's our third point guard, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
if that's what we're bitching about, I think we're doing okay. Westville says he's overthinking, which leads to
Yes.
mistakes. So that's what you're seeing too, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's basically sums it up right there. That's all it is.
Steve Haller says Peyton just plays dumb. Hey.0, he just turns the ball over too much. And again, when you're in for only 4 minutes and 33 seconds and you turn the ball over twice, yeah, I mean your per 36 has got to be through the roof. In fact, let me look that up real quick. I wonder what Elfrid Payton's per 36 is when it comes to turnovers this year, because that probably is an interesting statistic. Let's see here. So
Yeah, he
Elf.
I don't I he he's just making mistakes. He knows he shouldn't be playing this way. That's the thing. When you look at him, he knows he shouldn't be playing this way.
So in the per 36 department, Chandler Hutchison leads the team with 7.7 turnovers per 36, but that's obviously because he's played like a total of 14 minutes this season.
Yeah.
Cameron Payne, 3.7 turnovers per 36, and Elfrid Payton's right behind him at 3.6. So yeah, that's a good point there. Isaquant says it's not so much that Peyton is turning it over; it's his body language. Hangs his head after every bad play, and he doesn't get back on defense. That's what you're noticing, right, Matthew?
Yeah, it's because everyone notices it. Everyone's really focused on how he's doing on the court with the minutes he has, because
Hmm.
everyone's seeing like, are you going to turn the ball over? Are you going to make the right play? That's what they're looking at. That's what Monty's looking at. It's like, can you just hang in there and just get not even assists, just move the ball around, like just make the right pass. And his body language does suck, but the way he's turning it over, I feel bad for him. I would feel the same exact way on the court.
Yeah, and especially when it leads to the opposition scoring those points and cutting that lead right away. So not only is it a bad play, but it's a negative. But
Yeah.
again, his plus minus in that quarter was -1. So he wasn't the whole story. And last but not least, Metal Mike, he says I wasn't mad at Payton tonight. So
That's good. Yeah.
that's good.
Yep.
So
Yep. And thanks for the
so
compliment on the hat too. I don't like.
so you're the one. So you're the one who wasn't mad. Again, it was just interesting seeing how many people were just like, "Damn, dude, that's a." They're going after Peyton tonight. So,
He can
but
feel that
again,
energy. So next time, just everyone
yes,
support him. Just get
cheer.
on it. Yeah, and then he'll be a little bit better maybe.
Suns in 4. Can we swap Elfrid Payton with the Gary Payton
Oh
son,
my
Gary Payton
god.
Jr.?
Did you know Gary Payton Jr. is like 28 years old? Did you know
Yeah,
like this is I love Gary Payton Jr. I love that guy
he's a
right now.
different kind of player though. He's a
He
backup
is.
too, who's just like wants to dunk all over. It's like having Kelly Oubre without the hair.
Yeah, but his defense is really, really good, and like
Yeah,
he just brings a lot of really positive energy. He's actually has a good shot here or in there with Golden State, so
I
I'm glad he's
highly
gotten some opportunity there.
I highly doubt you listened to the Bill Simmons podcast that came out today. Did you?
Oh, did I? Gosh, darn it!
It's the one where they're talking about
I
the
think I went
next.
halfway through. Was it with the Repotters or the Potters?
No, the Repotters was the last one. This is one that
Oh,
literally
okay,
came out
okay.
today. I
No, I
listened
didn't
to it
know.
on my flight in, and Bill Simmons was talking with Sean Fennessy and another guy who's a Knicks fan. And
Okay.
one of the interesting things, and the only reason I bring this up, one of the interesting things is as they were talking about why the Knicks kind of suck this year. One is obviously the Julius Randle digression, but another big part is they're like when you take Reggie Bullock and Elfrid Payton, and they go, as much as we couldn't stand Elfrid Payton last year as our starting point guard, when you take those two guys away, you have and replace them with Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker, you lose all your defense in the front court. And as much as we are frustrated with Elfrid Payton, he does play decent defense. Obviously, not on the plays where he's turning the ball over, hanging his head, and not
Mhm.
running back on defense. But to have your tertiary point guard provide some sense of defensive minutes, because again, he was only a -1 tonight. So I'm just saying, Elfrid Payton, we spent way too much time talking about you tonight.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so
he'll
so
he'll
let's move
figure it
on.
out. If we know this team, he'll figure it out and give us some decent play in the future.
Yeah, as Ted Lubin says, what a difference a couple years have made. We're complaining about a third string point guard after a win. I love the
It
Phoenix
was just
Suns,
such
man.
a brutal couple of minutes for him,
It
so I
was.
had to
It
bring him
was.
up.
Well, let's talk about somebody who didn't have brutal minutes tonight. Somebody who was shining bright like a diamond.
Lights, Cameron, action.
Oh man, your boy Cameron Johnson this evening shone ever so brightly, coming off the bench, playing 24 minutes, going 7 of 7 from the field, 5 for 5 from deep. He had a couple free throws as well. He had 9 rebounds and 21 points, 1 point shy of his career high. I was hoping he would get it tonight. A plus 13 for Cam. How great did he look tonight, man? I've never seen Cam this confident.
No, I mean, just his body language. You want to talk about really good body language? He's had
Yes.
it. He's had it for a while now, and tonight you can totally see it. His eyes were super focused. Didn't miss a three tonight. So he I
Didn't
don't know
miss
if he's
anything
ever had
tonight.
that game. No, I know, but like has he ever had a game where he hasn't missed a three? He's so dead on right now. And it's really helping the Suns team that needed an extra guy really on offense. When Mikhail's really struggling, like he's the guy to pick it up. And I know they usually don't play together too much. I feel like Mikhail and Cam, it's kind of just opposite. But when
Mhm.
Cam's in, especially in a game against OKC where he can shine. He can look like a god against these guys. That's what he looked like. He looked like don't touch me. Like you guys wish you had me on your team, which I have an OKC friend that wishes he had Cam Johnson.
Yes.
And that's the way he plays against these teams. Even like the catch and shoot three was there, and teams are still leaving him so wide open, even like a foot behind the line, so wide open, and he cannot miss. But the last three he made, where it was like the little roll off of a screen, he jumped like I'm like that's good, that's in. Just
Mhm.
his focus and everything, his eyes, he knows that he can just pretty much make everything. If not, he had the little floater tonight too that led to an and one. Like he's taking the game slower. He's still moving at a fast pace when he needs to. He had a little breakaway lay-in where he just zooped right past the defender. And those are things that he can do too. He can pick up the speed. He can slow it down. They were talking about Lou Dort tonight and how he has slowed down. And I think Cam really has in a good way to where it's helping his 3-point shot and him with the little floaters and getting to the rim too against defenders who think like, hey, he might pull up for a jump shot. Nope, he's right there at the rim. So he's so diverse right now. It's it's really sexy. It's really good stuff.
Did you say
It's really
zooped?
nice. Zooped, yeah.
He zooped right down the lane. So
Zooped. Whatever comes out of my mouth.
bullshit. So obviously 5 for 5 is the best performance he's ever had behind the 3-point line. His previous best was 3 for 3. He did that once upon a time. His rookie season, December 30th, 2019, he went 3 for 3 from deep, and that was all of his field goals that night. So he's hit 100% of his threes, a total of 8 total times once this season, but 3 for 3 was the best he's ever done. So 5 for 5 tonight, that was career worthy. And again, you look at the 21 points and the fact that he only took him on 7 shots, like that's ridiculous. And it's to your point, his versatility is one thing we've talked about multiple times this season, but you're seeing the confidence, and he's really finding himself comfortable with that 0.5 offense that Monty Williams preaches, right? He makes that decision instantaneously now. And that's what it takes in the NBA. If you get the ball, you don't sit there and take a look. You catch and you shoot. Or when you take the ball, you're going right at the rim. And that comes from experience and spatial awareness on the court. And that's what Cam is really starting to display. And that's what I noticed tonight, that and have noticed kind of throughout the season, but really saw it executed fantastically tonight, was his spatial awareness, his ability to know where the defenders are, and when he gets the ball his way, he knows exactly if he's going to shoot it, pass it, or drive it to the rim. And those are the 3 things in the 0.5 offense that Monty asks of his team, and that's exactly what Cameron Johnson did tonight. Again, a little disappointing that he didn't get that 22nd point, man. I was really hoping. I wanted that.
But that's another thing too. Eddie even brought it up how they weren't forcing him the ball. He wasn't forcing anything. I think in the past, if a guy is that hot from 3, the Suns would keep finding him, and which is good. But on the other end, if Cameron Johnson's taking the ball down the court and just forcing up threes like he might have in the past, like that's something that's changed. It's like even Book tonight, we'll talk about him. His points came very quietly because these players that are hot and they're making their shots, are not missing from 3. They're not continuing to ask for the ball. They're playing the rest of the game, and everything else comes to them. So then it sneaks up on you, man. These 5 for 5 3-point games, and then 37 points from Booker.
Well, it wasn't 37 from Booker. It was 30. It was 30
Dude,
and 7.
Why do I keep saying 37?
I don't know. It was 30 and 7.
I thought it was 37 the whole. I heard 37 on the broadcast.
No, he said like, 30 and 7.
All right, who watches this podcast? Because it's just misinformation all night long.
Well, like you said it I said a 30-point game, and then you said 37. I'm like, okay, maybe he misheard that, or maybe he just misspoke. But then you said it again, so I was like, okay, I'm correcting you this time. But it is time to talk about Devin Booker. 12 for 23 from the field, including 4 for 7 from deep, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. So there's your 7s, Matthew, and 30 total points. So entering the game, he was at 42% from deep. He shot 57% from deep tonight. So that percentage is going to go up. What the hell are we seeing from Devin Booker this season, man? What the hell are we seeing?
I don't know. I mean, the threes are going up, so it's helping everything else from his game. I mean, even the help defense was really good on him in the second and then in the third quarter, but he still finds a way. I think the help defense all around from OKC on every player that the Suns against the Suns were it was there. They were in their face, but Booker and of course Chris Paul at the end of the game had to finish business. I just think that now that the 3 is going in, he even had the buzzer beater 3.
Yeah,
the
that was
third,
that,
which
that
is
was
just
big.
It's huge. I think that he's always wanted his 3 to go in and to affect the game to where he can have even better looking shots, draw the double team by the 3, facilitate the ball more. He started to facilitate the ball. How many assists did he have?
7.
Is it the 7? I'm just joking.
Yeah.
So yeah,
stupid ass.
But like even his assists, when he's shooting the 3 so well right now, his assist numbers I feel like are going up too. And it just helps everything else, dude. It's kind of like when Mikal gets the 3 to go down, it helps a lot, especially with his confidence. But Book's always been searching for that 3 for a long time. Now I feel like it's really falling, and he's taking his time with the shot. Now that it's falling, and it opens just so much for him. I'm really happy it's going down. And his one dunk that it went up in and in, like that when he was short on the three, got the rebound, went up for the dunk. I was like, oh, dude, like you woke this dude up. Like he
Yeah.
wanted to get that one down over Dort. And I love that shit when Book does that, when he goes aggressive to the 3-point or to the rim. That's just a thing of beauty. And even though it was a weird dunk, even though it still went in, it was an and one. Like I just love the attempt. I love the aggression.
And the rest that he received, to see him come out and play the way that he did in the last game, and now play, he dominates the Lakers. He comes out tonight. He has a 30-point performance, and although it was 23 shot attempts, as you mentioned, as Eddie Johnson mentioned, as many of the Jamsters are mentioned in the chat, it was a quiet 30. It's because it's efficient, it's effortless, and he's not doing anything too crazy. I always think that Devin Booker's had a good looking 3-point shot, and I just never understood why it wasn't falling. Because the guy, when he shoots it from 17 to 20 feet, it's like a layup for him. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why can't he just move 4 feet back and hit that shot? And so for some reason this year, it's starting to fall for him. And this is going to be so beneficial for the Suns moving forward, because it's going to have to keep defenses even more honest on this dude. It's going to open up the mid-range even more for this dude. It's the that one thing, we talk about Devin Booker throughout his career and how every offseason he's added something, right?
Yeah.
He added the mid-range game probably after his second year. He always had it, but like he really started to get good at it. He started to add some defense after the end of his fifth year.
Mm-hmm.
Coming into this year, it looks like the 3-pointer was a point of emphasis for him, and it's happening for him. It's the percentages are ridiculous. He's like top 8 in the league in 3-point percentage. That's only going to go up tonight, and it's solidifying the fact that this dude's going to be voted an all-star and not a fucking all-star reserve this year,
We'll
dude.
see. I hope they got like, could we just not get snubbed one year? I know we want the championship.
We
That's all
won't
I
this
care
year,
about.
man.
I don't want any snubs. Even
We
Mikal
won't.
Bridges, defensive player of the year, even maybe DeAndre Ayton making the All-Star game. So we'll
We
see how
could
this
send
goes,
3
man.
all-stars there, man. I mean, the way that this team's playing, we're 26-5, bro.
I
There's been
know.
5 times in 31 games that you and I have had to come on this podcast and talk about a Suns loss. 5 times this season, and 3 of them were in the first 4 games. It's ridiculous what's
I know.
happening. So yeah, we
And why
could
am I so
have.
depressed? I don't know.
It's because it's the
I'm sure
holidays. The
it's
sun goes down earlier.
that's true. That is the thing. Yeah.
Everybody's like, it's the same
Everyone's
old
got their psychiatrist
conversation
now.
you have with the same conversation happens with everybody you talk to. It's like 7 o'clock and everyone's like, oh, I thought it was 11 p.m. Oh, I thought it was time for bed. It's like, it's the
Yeah.
same mindless chat and bullshit that we've
Yeah.
all had that conversation. Everyone in this chat
Mhm.
has had that conversation recently, so the one thing that's kind of weird for me right now is seeing the, outside of the arena, the Footprint Center, they had like the fake snow and everything.
Yeah. That was awesome. Yeah. It freaked me
And
out.
when I landed here in Reno, and like there's actual snow here, and it just
Oh.
rained, so there's ice everywhere. So like I get out of my rental car, coming into
Mhm.
the hotel, I nearly eat shit like twice. I'm like, oh shit, I'm thinking of my wife because she loves it
Whoa.
when I fall.
Whoa.
Anytime I
Yeah.
fall, my wife just sits and laughs at me, and I'm like, oh, she would be thoroughly enjoying this
Yeah.
shit. But getting off the plane, they're like, Merry Christmas, and in my head, like I am not in the holiday mood at all.
Mhm.
Obviously I'm working on Christmas. I'll be right here with you guys afterwards. That's the highlight of Christmas Day here in a couple days, is hanging out with the Jamsters afterwards, because like I'm working. I don't feel Christmas at all this year. For Christmas, I bought this headset for myself. Like, Merry Christmas to me.
Yeah.
Let's
So what just happened?
let's lighten up a little bit here. Speaking of guys who need to lighten up, Deandre Ayton, dude, aggressive Ayton tonight, man. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the end of the game, he got teed up after a ferocious dunk putback because the refs were like picking on him for like 3 plays in a row. What else did you see from DA tonight? Because I know that he came out, he was aggressive in the first half. This is definitely one of those teams where he probably should have taken more advantage than he ultimately did. He did end with 19 and 12, which is like almost standard operating procedure for DA.
Yep.
But what
Yeah.
else did you see from DA tonight, my friend?
Oh, well, I mean, it was the aggression, but one thing I thought of as soon as he came out in the first quarter, he got his 9 points, went to the line 3 for 4, which is just he gets to the line now early in the games, I feel like. So I expect that. But the way he's playing, the way he looks, I mean, body language looks really good. His focus looks really good. It looks like someone had a talk with him. And he's been playing fantastic this year. But I think someone just like, hey, you have to play these games anyways. So you might as well just make sure it's an effort against any team, even if it's OKC. You know what I mean? Because we went through a few times with DA, not this year, but last year, where he's just like, I'll take this night off a little bit. He
Hmm.
was that way. Now it's just like, hey, you got to come to work, so you might as well just give it your all. That's what he's doing. And when he looks like that, dude, he looks scary. His aggression and him just able to really just do whatever he wants on the floor. He even has like the fadeaway and stuff going now. Like everything just is in a flow. And he doesn't have like that deer in the headlights look anymore either. He looks like he knows what he's doing offensively. Defensively, of course, he's a force. But third quarter, he wasn't as aggressive. But then he gets it back though. And I think that he looks forward to a lot this year. And we always talk about how guards might think they can get by DA and do all this on defense, but I think DA really looks forward to the matchups against guards. And I think he can
Hmm.
just tell on the way he approaches them. It's like a really good challenge for him to go up against them and see if he can get the block, if he can just detour the shot at all at the rim. Like I feel like he just looks forward to those moments. Like anytime they think it's a mismatch, you can see DA like scooting up a little bit, like squatting down with his hands out. He's like, all right, let's go. Let's see what she can do. And it usually comes out in DA's favor. Like I
Yeah.
just love watching him against guards. It's something that I think he really gets excited about. So I like that about DA tonight too.
I was trying to think of who's the last center that I remember who had the ability and versatility to really match up with some really good guards. And like Akeem Olajuwon was really good at it. He's a guy who in the pick and roll could really defend, and because he had the athleticism and the lateral quickness to do so and create shot deterrence. And I can't think of very many other guys who could do it. Like Kevin Garnett was always a 4 in my eyes, even though he played some 5, but maybe Garnett. But I mean,
Yeah.
you're right. He doesn't look lost anymore. And the beautiful thing, and this is what we talked about at the beginning of the year. It's like the great thing coming into this season is that no matter what happens, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, Cam Johnson, Devin Booker, they're going to be better than they were last year when we went to the NBA Finals. And
Yeah.
you're seeing it now because he completely and utterly understands where he should be on the court, how to operate in certain space, when and where to kind of choose his spots. And if the Suns facilitate the game plan more towards him, he's going to obviously benefit from that. But he's a walk in, 19 and 12, and we saw that again tonight. The putback dunk was absolutely fantastic. Uh, you know, I really think that to see him kind of display his aggression and bring it out on the court, that's what we always want to see from DA. Just a little bit of fire. I don't need to be walking around stomping, pissed off all the time. He
Yeah.
does complain still a little too much for me. He's kind of doing the hands out, like looking at the ref after every fucking
Even though
play.
it's not a foul. It's like,
Even
dude,
though
that was
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
fadeaway and you ran away from the defender. Yeah. So he does have a few things, just like when the defense does adjust to him, usually in the second half, and the DA kind of just they'll kind of go away from him because they're doing the same. He's trying to do the same thing, and they adjusted. They have more guys down there in the bottom, but I mean, you can't just feed them all game long. Like, there's too much going on with the Suns' offense.
No,
You have to
yeah.
keep everyone involved.
Balance.
So I think we're kind of moved past that. So when he does get the attempts and stuff, it looks pretty solid now, man. He's not messing up.
Yeah, and again, balance is what happens. And Devin Booker's got 30. You got Cam Johnson has 21. You got DA with 19, and you got Chris Paul who put up 16 and 7 tonight. And
Yeah.
again, what made Chris Paul great tonight was again that last kind of final push from the Oklahoma City Thunder where they got it down to 9 points. Timeout by the Suns. The next 2 plays are both Chris Paul possessions where he just
Yeah.
scores it himself and kind of puts it away. So it's kind of standard operating procedure. What's interesting when you talk about Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton was
Mhm.
how Monty Williams, I think, just challenged the wrong play. Like,
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
right? Like Chris
Yeah.
Paul, DA setting a screen on Lou Dort, and Lou Dort does a great, I got bumped him
Mhm.
into like a 360 corkscrew as he
Yeah.
landed on the court. And, there's no challenge on that play. And literally the next play, SGA is going down the lane, puts a layup in. DA's kind of there. He bumps him a little bit. And Monty decided to challenge that one. I'm like, dude, you missed the challenge by one play.
I know there's 3 in a row and he chose the last one. And
Yeah.
I kept saying like just save the challenge is fine because we get the 10-point lead. But yeah, the first 2 he would have won. This third one, he's like, okay, fine, I'll challenge it. I think it just got to the point where he's like, how many plays are we going to go in a row till I have to like actually use this challenge? So I'll use it now. But it was the wrong one. It's funny you brought it up because I mean, that's the hardest thing for a coach, I think, is just down on the floor. You gotta you're trying to work your game plan. You try to look at the scoreboard to see if like, if that's a challengeable play. And half the time I feel like they can't even really see the play because they're looking straight up. Like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, so they have really weird angles, I feel like, to even see the replay. So I don't know. If it was a crucial game, if it was something I was like, yeah, that was the wrong one. But I just think it's funny how that worked out for Monty. Poor
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, no, I thought it was kind of funny too. Another thing that I saw tonight that I you don't see very often. I saw Da pretty badly fall for a pump fake tonight. And that's like as rare as finding a northern hairy-nosed wombat. You know what I mean? Like you're
Oh
just not
yeah.
going to find those things. There's like 7 left
Never.
on the planet. And I brings me to another point, like who counts extinct animals? Like here I am in
Yeah. I'm glad you
like
brought this up too.
yeah, I flew here to Reno. Like, I got a job to
Yep.
do. Like, who's like, hey, what are you doing on Christmas? Like, I got to go out into bush. I got to count all of the hairy
The
northern
bush.
nosed wombats. See how many are left out in the world. I've got
Yeah.
5. Like, who's counting the extinct animals?
That I've always said the same thing. I'm like, stop telling me that Siberian tigers and stuff are going extinct. Like, how do you know this? And
Yeah, how are you tracking
honestly,
them?
I guess there's poachers or people that are killing these animals. It's a disgrace, but I don't know who's really counting all these animals and why do I have to hear about it so much? You know what I mean? But I do care about the wildlife, I
Of
guess.
course
I
we
don't
do.
know.
I just
Even though
want to
they
know
would
who's
eat
out
me
there
up right
counting them.
away. They would
Like,
eat my big butt.
how is that your job? Like, I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a I'm a, rare species counter. That's what I do. It's really tough because I have to, you know, so such as you can't count extinct animals. Good point,
If they're
Justin.
extinct already,
But
but
like ones that are close to extinction,
yeah,
like
that's
the
what we meant.
northern hairy-nosed wombat, which is a rare animal, just like seeing Da fall for a
Mm,
pump fake. So,
yeah.
last question before we bring up the Thunder game that's upcoming on Christmas that I got for you, Matthew. And this is
Mhm.
relative to the Thunder. Do the Thunder have too many picks?
Yeah, yeah. My thing is trade those picks and get some stars in there, dude. You got to. You got to go after these teams that are tanking, like the Pacers, not tanking, but they're just absolutely going nowhere. You got to try to get these guys into OKC to help with the Shea. You have to help with as soon as these guys come to OKC. It's a great organization, great fan base. Still love it. Paul George almost stayed longer than he should have ever played there. You know what I mean? So you have
Mhm.
players like that go there. They're like, oh, you know what? I should come back. So they need to start trading them, man. I think, and stop focusing on the freaking draft. Like, who cares? You'll get your pick, whatever Adam Silver, wherever he wants you to pick. That's where you're gonna pick. It does not matter what your record is going into the lottery, unless you don't make the lottery, obviously.
Yeah, so, like, I was thinking about this. It's like, okay, I forget what the number is. I think they have, like, 18 in the next 4 years, they have, like, 18 first-round picks and 17
Yeah.
second-round picks. Like, in the upcoming draft, they have the Clippers pick from the Paul George trade. They have our pick from the Chris Paul trade. They have, a number 16 or the Pistons pick. They have their own pick. You go into the 2023 draft, they have their own. They have a Clippers pick, a Nuggets pick, a Heat pick, 2 Wizards pick, a Mavericks pick. The next draft, it's the Rockets pick, the Clippers pick, the Hornets pick. They have so many picks, and it's like Metal Mike says, picks are assets. I don't think you can have too many assets, but I think you can. I think they're kind of at this point where it's like, at what point do these assets are they essentially turned against you, right?
Yeah.
Because we've seen time and time again, if you're going after one of those big fish, right? If you're going after the Demontis Sabonis, you can sit there and package a trade that has all these little assets attached to it. And for the most part, they're not going to equal what Demontis Sabonis is, right? It's the 4 quarters doesn't always equal a dollar in an NBA trade philosophy. And at some point, you're going to have some teams that are like, I'm not going to deal with OKC because I don't want 3 second rounders 4 years from now. I'd rather keep DeMontis Sabonis or do a better 1-for-1 kind of trade, or maybe even a 2-for-1 trade, right? They've got so many picks that teams, if they really are smart, if they could freeze them out, be like, hey, you've got 35 picks in the next 4 drafts, Oklahoma City Thunder. Guess what?
Mm.
You're gonna have to pick them all. Like, we're not trading you for your fucking picks. Okay, because it's almost like they're trying to get too smart for themselves. Now, granted, those are assets, and yes, they do have SGA. You got Giddy, you got Poku, right? We didn't even talk about Poku on the
Oh,
podcast.
there's nothing to talk about tonight.
I
Poku.
know,
I thought he was in the G League. So
but it's like they have so many picks, and as Justin says in the chat, he goes, none of their picks are really enticing picks. Heavy protections, at best, a bunch of back end first round picks, right? Because what they did is they took assets like Paul George, Chris Paul, and they traded them to teams that are now successful. So it's not like they're getting a bunch of. It's not like what the Philadelphia Eagles and the Giants are doing, and I think the Dolphins. Who else? There's another team next year who like. There's a bunch of teams that are going to have like first round picks in the top 10 in the NFL because they made savvy trades, right?
Yeah.
It's different in the NBA. You give us Chris Paul, he's on offense and defense, and he's going to make our team better. And guess what? Our pick is now tanked in value. So again, I know they have a ton of picks upcoming, and I just don't know if it's necessarily a positive thing. You're starting to see these GMs get too cute about it, and we'll see in time. We'll see over the next 5 years between them and like the Rockets, and I think the Pelicans. I think those are the three major teams that have a lot of assets when it comes to picks. We'll see how these teams kind of shake out. And if they truly start to move all these assets in an effort to better their team, because at the end of the day, again, you have to have teams that are willing to take on those second round picks. Oh yeah, cool. I'm getting the Suns pick. That's going to be the 30th pick in the draft. Cool. I want that. You know what I'm saying?
No, I totally agree with you, but the thing is with the NFL, those picks are a lot sexier. Like you can get a third or fourth round pick, that can be a difference, for you offensive line. You can get some good talent back there. For the NBA, yeah, it's a lottery pick, and then you do the lottery, you don't know where you're going to end up. So it's really a chance you're taking both ways. So either you
Hmm.
trade these picks, you get like a Sabonis type player, and you take a chance on that guy that's already proven. He's an all-star. He's a guy that can actually affect your team in a positive way right away. So you go that route. I think as a Suns fan, you get sick of just waiting every year for the picks, and then you realize it doesn't ever end up your way unless you get DeAndre Ayton, of course. And even when we got DeAndre Ayton, everyone's like, we should have chose Luka, like, right? And we should have chose Luka. So you go through that pain. I really think NBA teams have to stop focusing on tanking. And when the Suns were tanking, I would hear a lot on podcasts like, it is very unhealthy for your organization to tank.
Absolutely.
And it's a bad idea to force your team to lose games because look what happened. We're lucky Booker stuck around this
Yeah.
long. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because the way the Suns were losing games, it can change anything. You can get rid of your superstar. Your superstar, like a Devin Booker, will ask out. So just focus on winning, because I think that this OKC team has the best mentality out of these teams that are in the bottom tier to where they
Hmm.
want to win. They have the talent there, the good hustle team. So just get on the right path and just focus on winning games, bettering your team now. Don't worry about the draft, dude. Because you never know with these players, they come out so raw now too. It takes them years and years and years to get better. But if you get the right player, like at the 10th pick to the 15th pick, and you can form them like a Shea, where you can just you have a guy that's actually like ready to play, who's ready to get better, who's all for your organization. That's like number one, a confident player. You want the confident players. So you can find those in the back of the draft. It's just stop settling for like a top 3 pick, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah, these teams are essentially banking on teams like the Pacers, who publicly say we're looking to blow it up, and we're looking to sell off some assets because we want to kind of go into rebuild mode. Because you're right, tanking is not the answer. It breeds a losing culture, and we are
Yeah.
blessed that Devin Booker fought through that area, that time period. TJ Warren was a casualty of that. Now, granted, he was also a casualty of his injuries, but I felt like the Suns didn't play him nearly as I felt like he had an ankle problem for like 2 straight years, and we didn't see him play just because they wanted to rest him,
And a
and
head
again,
problem.
and
His
take yeah
head
and a
was
head,
too big or
yeah,
something. I don't know.
yeah. It's like he put the headband on it and it would hurt.
Well,
But OKC is ahead of the game, especially when you look at like the Rockets, because the Rockets are another team that's hoarding assets. But what the Thunder have done is they have SGA and they've locked him down. Right? They gave him his rookie extension. They have him under contract till 2027, paying him 29 million next year, and it goes up to almost 40 million by that 27. So they definitely are a team that's looking to take those assets and do something with them because they've locked down somebody. Uh,
yeah.
it's so many assets though, man. And again, I'm saying with all those assets, you could literally just be like, dude, I'm not dealing with you. I don't want any of your shitty picks. And I want to see if this experiment of you garnering an asset from every other team in the league is actually going to work out for you. Go ahead, take 36 picks. Like
Yeah.
next draft, they have like 7 picks. Okay, take 7 of those picks. You're going to have to give a ton of those guys away because you can't fit them on a roster or a G League team.
Mhm.
So,
No, I agree, man.
real quick shout out to Rag MMA. He's just stopped by to say F the refs.
Okay. Yeah, get off a DA, huh? Give DA a break. That was funny. Eddie Johnson laughing at the end of the game because DA could not catch a break tonight.
No, poor guy,
It
especially at the
was
end of the game.
but
It
when you're
was
winning, it's funny. When you get the
it,
technical, it's a fun tech, like a Jay Crowder tech. They're always fun.
it was fantastic. So, all right, that time of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Jam star of the game.
All right, Jamsters, who is your jam star of the game? Matthew, I went first last time. Who's your jam star of the game?
We're both going Devin Booker
Yep.
here tonight. Just an easy win for him and just being on the floor and just taking minimal amount of shots, like not a crazy amount, but just to get to 30 points. It's weird to see a player get not to 37, but to get the 30 points for the Suns. And it was just easy for him tonight. I feel like second quarter, they really bogged down on him. The third quarter too, but then he picked it back up when the game mattered. Him and Chris Paul back and forth. Chris Paul with a couple shots, Booker with a couple shots to end the game, just get to your spots because you know when you're playing against this OKC team, there's only so far they can go head to head against you until you just have to, create some spacing and tire them out.
Yeah, I mean it's Devin Booker, and you're right. Honorable mention though to Cam Johnson. I mean that's 7 for 7 for 21 points, one of his best games of his career.
Jeez, yeah.
But yeah, Devin Booker. Again, knowing that this is his second game back, that he's he's spaced it out perfectly. Like come back, play that first game against the Lakers, get your legs back under you. Okay, be a little bit more aggressive tonight. So he's primed up for that next game. Like that's going to be absolutely fantastic to see him play against the Warriors, and that brings us kind of right
Yeah.
into our next segment. The Warriors is what is next for the Phoenix Suns. Christmas Day, 3 p.m. Arizona time, 2 p.m. here in Reno, Nevada. So I'm gonna have to try to get out of work earlier. Second seating for brunches at 1:30. I'm like, you guys are good, right? Yeah, we have a 12 o'clock seating and a 1:30 seating. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but by that time I should be good enough to GTFO. So what are you looking for this game? It was announced today that both Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole, due to COVID-19 protocols, will not be playing. Matthew.
Okay, so that's the update. Yeah, it's going into these games. You never know because of the COVID thing. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns has COVID now too, so he can't catch a break, I guess. Just a lot of this is just up in the air till game time decisions, really hit, and then you can see who's on the floor at tip off. But in this game, it's kind of game of the year, right? For the Suns, if it really matters, I guess it starts to matter right now around Christmas time. This is a game where you're gonna watch and just be like, can the Suns match the tempo of what the Warriors are going to bring? Because now that the Warriors, of course, can see that the Suns are the best team in the NBA, they're going to fight even harder with these games. So I wouldn't really say a regular season game is like a must win, but it would be nice to win this game because I just think the way the Suns are playing and how they're just so recognized, even from there's ex-players that are talking about them all the time on YouTube, just talking about the Suns and how they're a team and all this. They're over the Warriors. The Warriors are only going to be better if they have Klay Thompson. That's a big if. So right now, the Suns can just make a statement with this win again against Warriors. This is the third time they played them, right? We're 1-1.
Third time, second time at home for the Phoenix Suns, which means we'll have one more game against the Warriors a little bit later in the season, and that will actually occur at Golden State. This is a massive game for the Phoenix Suns because it's Christmas Day, right? Last time the Phoenix Suns played on Christmas Day was what, 2010? I mean, it's been a long, long time. There are people who, if they are 18 years old right now, and they can buy a pack of cigarettes and a Playboy, they haven't watched the Phoenix Suns play on Christmas since they were like 7 or 8 years old. I mean, that's unbelievable. So and not just that, it's not like it's the morning game. This is like prime time. It's going to be 5 o'clock on the East Coast, right? It's prime time. It's the game that everybody's waiting for nationally. It's the game where they release the ticket prices. Which Christmas Day game has the highest ticket prices? It's the Suns and the Warriors game in Phoenix. So it just shows you that there's a high demand for this game. Is it a must win? No, it's December. We're in first place in the NBA right now, and it truly doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Would it be nice to win? Absolutely. I will tell you this: there's 2:03 left in the fourth quarter between the Golden State Warriors right now and the Memphis Grizzlies, and it's tied at 102. So,
Dude, those Grizzlies.
I'm telling you, man.
What the hell's going on? I can't wait to watch that team again.
What's crazy about them is they went like 10-2 without Ja Morant.
The
Isn't that
opposite of
crazy?
MVP, right?
Yeah, Ewing theory, definite Ewing theory going on there.
Oh,
But
no,
again,
yeah.
But again, it's going to be a big game. It's going to be a fun game to watch, and
Mhm.
all eyes are going to be on the Suns. So let's go out there and let's show them what's up. Let's show them who we are. Let's show them why we are who we are again, because we did it before. Devin Booker got hurt in the game. Obviously, the next time we played, we were down people. They were down people. The fact that there's no Wiggins, the fact that there's no Poole, I don't care. If we win this game, we'll hear that from everybody. Every fucking shitty Warriors fan that is going to be like, well, we were down 2 players. I don't give a shit. You still got to win the game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're down 2 players. All right, guys, we need to take it easy this game, okay?
Yeah.
Hey, guys, don't
Two
play good defense. They're down 2 players. Like, fuck that.
2 names, Saric, Kaminsky. Come on, they showed them on
Yeah.
the bench together hanging out. I'll miss those guys.
Oh,
We
yeah.
definitely miss them. The way they played for the Suns. Come on.
Well, did you see how they had that pregame cam where the guys were all in the hallway and
Yeah, I
they
did see
campaigned?
that, yeah.
Did you see Dario Saric and he had like his sandals on? It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. I was like, Dario, I miss you so.
Yeah,
You know what? I'm
I
going to
miss
give it
him
to him.
too.
The Saric smoke break.
Get well soon, Dario, and Merry
Yes.
Christmas.
Stop smoking. It doesn't help, dude.
Doesn't help at all. So, I say Suns get the dub on that game.
Yes, me too. Yeah, absolutely.
So it'll
be a great Christmas, and then the Cardinals will win too, right?
Yeah,
right
the
after.
Cardinals played the Colts. I just don't want this to turn into what happened that one Sunday night or whatever night it was, Monday Night Football, whatever the fuck it was, where the Cardinals lost and then I had to watch the Suns and the Suns lost to the Clippers. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah, Cardinals need
weeks
to
ago.
win. That's a tough. I
That's a
think
tough
the
game.
Colts are probably gonna win. Sorry,
And I got
man.
Jonathan Taylor in my fantasy on 2 of my fantasy playoff teams. It's like, dude, he's primed. Just run the fuck over him. This will be the one time the Cardinals defense shows. I don't know. I'm so torn. It's like I want the Cardinals to win, but I want to win money.
That's why you just don't make the playoffs. You have to worry about it. I'm already out.
Johnny go, well, my Sarge smoke break.
There
yes,
it
Johnny,
is.
we still, we've been waiting to dust that one off. We haven't played it here in a while. So I think on that note, I think we're all set here, Matthew. Great game by the Suns. They win by 12 over OKC. We're prepped. We're primed. We're ready for Christmas and the Phoenix Suns to play the Golden State Warriors. So remember, Jamsters, if you want to find the best post-game podcast on Planet Orange, it's right here at the Suns Jam Session Podcast. We'll be coming to you live following that game against the Warriors on Christmas Day. Come unwrap a nice little present. See me and Matthew on Christmas. But make sure you hit like down below. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review if you're listening to this, all that fun stuff. Until then, you can follow me at Darth Voida. You can follow the show at Suns Jam. You can follow Matthew.
I'm Matthew Lucy.
That's all I got. I'll see you guys on Christmas.
Yeah, and everyone go home and tinsel your family.
Tinsel them? That's actually a really good idea.